Hey everybody, Cruiseman here. Today it looks a little messy in Cruiseman's garage. That's because I'm getting ready to do a lot of work. I'm getting ready to, maybe later on I'm going to install these red wheel stripes that came from, as you remember from my accident, they did not replace these in Midland. So thanks to Progressive, they paid to replace these red wheel stripes, and I will be putting those on the front wheel, hopefully, if I have time today. It's about 85 degrees right now. It's not too bad, but it's high humidity. I'd say about 75–80% humidity, so it's a little bit muggy out here in the garage. The big one is I'm going to be replacing my meter visor, which got damaged in the accident. Progressive did pay to have this replaced in Midland.
This video is sponsored by Cruiseman's Garage Honda Goldwing Maintenance Video Series.
And they did not replace it, so Midland Powersports reimbursed me for the cost of this part, and I will be installing this, but I have to remove a lot of parts to get to it. We have to take off the little rear view mirror air deflectors. We have to take off the rear view mirrors. We have to take off the side panels, these middle cowls. We have to take off the front windshield garnish, the windshield. We have to take off lots of stuff. It's going to be a long day. Okay, let's get started. Okay, here at Cruiseman's Garage, I'm about halfway through getting all the parts off to replace this meter visor. I'm sorry about the shadows in here. I had to close the garage door because guy's working in his yard. One of the things you have to deal with when you're working and you're doing YouTube videos is noise in your neighborhood. And we have jets flying over and buses going by, and I got a guy out there with his lawn or yard blower, leaf blower, whatever. We're replacing this meter visor here. We have to replace, I had to remove the rear view mirrors. As you can see, they're gone. We have to remove the middle cowls down here. Both middle cowls have to be replaced. I'm sorry, they have to be removed. I've already removed the one on the left side of the bike, as you can see here. The reason we have to remove these is because we have to be able to get to this bolt right here for the garnish, and we have to remove this front garnish piece here. And we're going to also remove the little flaps, these little wing flaps. We're also going to remove the stays for the windshield. And I'm going to do all this with a time lapse so I don't sit here and yap the whole time, and because it's kind of boring stuff. I'm just done doing screws. By the way, if you're ever interested in how to do any of these things, all of these parts that I'm removing, all of this is covered in my Goldwing maintenance video series for the 2018 Plus Honda Goldwing. So if you ever find yourself in a situation, like in my case, where I have to replace this meter visor, I wouldn't say it's very easy to do. It's time consuming, but it's not difficult. You just have to know the steps. And I'm not going to go through all those steps on YouTube in this video. It'd be an hour-long video. I do have videos on how to remove all of these parts and put them back on, so you can check those out if you're interested. But now I'm going to go back to a time lapse, and we will get this job completed. I have the windshield stays off. The next thing to come off is going to be the meter panel itself, or the meter visor. You'll notice it's pretty dirty under here. You've got a nice moth stuck in there. And I will go through and completely get all this cleaned off. Get a moist or wet microfiber. Once I get the meter visor off, I'll do that. So the next thing is we're going to take off the meter visor and replace it. One little pro tip I will share with you. You'll notice I laid a microfiber on my seat because this is where I kind of lay out my tools. And I don't want any of these tools to mar the surface of the seat, because this seat is very susceptible, as you know, to scratching and marring. So I always put down a microfiber cloth In fact, I saw a picture when the bike was at Midland Powersports being worked on. My insurance agent took a picture of the bike, and I noticed they had a bunch of tools and stuff, parts stacked on the seat, and I came unglued. I told him to go tell them to put down a microfiber cloth or to put the tools somewhere else, but put something on there to protect that seat. Fortunately, nothing scratched it. I got lucky. So the meter visor is off, and under here you can see why I was concerned. Even though the area of the impact was kind of right in here, there really is nothing that critical. There's an ECU here. I think it's an ECU. But the windshield motor is up here that drives the windshield, and this is where your XM antenna is mounted. Probably the worst location that Honda could come up with to mount an XM antenna. Of course, it's very dirty. And what I noticed, those cheap bastards at Honda, I bought my new meter panel, but they didn't include any of the hardware. So all of these little bosses and even the grommets, and they all have to be removed. They didn't even provide these little rubber flaps. This little rubber, I don't know what you call that, an insulation, little rubber strips. You'd think they would replace it. If I'd known, I'd have ordered new ones. I just assumed it came with it. But you can see it does not come with those rubber strips or any of that mounting hardware. You just get a bunch of holes. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to clean this up really good, get after it and clean it, and then I'll start removing these parts and swapping out all of this hardware for the new meter panel. And you know, as I was removing this, I had to remove that windshield garnish at Midland Powersports to do all this other repair work because the garnish was damaged. There's no way they didn't see that scratch. How could they possibly have missed that? Okay, let's take a quick look now that we've done some cleaning under here, gotten some of the dust off. Just looks much nicer, much cleaner. Don't have to think about it. As long as you're in here, you might as well clean. Also make sure you've got enough grease up here on these little pulleys, which there is. Everything looks good under here. Okay, here is a good example of why I always say you should learn how to work on your own motorcycle. As I was taking apart this front end for the meter panel replacement, that's why I'm actually glad I didn't have Midland Powersports replace the meter panel, because these are the fasteners that hold on the front, the inner cowls, and they're all over the place. These are the correct fasteners. This is not the correct fastener. You can see the difference. These should be the same size. I'm not even positive this is the correct one. On the other side, they both matched, which is correct. These are the two 5mm socket bolts that hold on the inner cowl. Also, the little rivets, plastic rivets, they use two of these that are the wrong size. Can you see the difference there? This is not a Honda rivet. This is not a Honda clip, body clip. This is the correct one. So I had a heck of a time trying to get these out. I don't even know how they got them in. Also, one of the bolts on the inner cowl, I'm not sure if it's cross-threaded or what, but it did not come out the way you expect it to come out. It felt Very strange the way it unscrewed, almost like it's been cross-threaded. Also, I did find a small chip in the paint on the left middle cowl down toward the leading edge at the very bottom. It's really almost unnoticeable, but I noticed it. I wished I had noticed it before I left the dealership, because as I said, my paint was in perfect condition with no damage. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to clean these little windshield flaps. They're pretty grimy. They got some little micro scratches on them. I'm going to clean them really good, and I'm going to also polish them using some plastic, or actually it's polish. That's not necessarily for plastic, but I've used it on this polycarbonate before, and it seems to work pretty good. So I'm not sure if you can see how messed up these are, but let's start cleaning them. This is the polish I'm using. It's an Aerolon Show polish. It's a very, very mild polish. It's one of the few polishes I've found that you can use on this clear plastic that doesn't scratch it. In fact, the biggest thing you have to be concerned about is the microfiber that you're using. I would not use this microfiber or this to clean anything clear. This is the microfiber I use. There might be better ones for this, but it's extremely soft, and it won't scratch the clear. I'm also using my little, a lot of people ask about this. It's this little electric sprayer. I just keep filtered water in it. You could put chemicals in it, but I don't. It's one of my favorite tools. I love it because it's electric. I use it sometimes just to wash the bike. So basically I'm just going to hit this with some water, and we're going to clean it off really good. Now I will use these to clean with, but I won't use them to polish, because when I'm cleaning it, I'm just getting off the dirt. I'm not rubbing it very hard. You could use a random orbital probably. It's just a little overkill for these. Much better, much cleaner. You can see the one I haven't done yet compared to the one I just did. It's hard to see on film because it's clear, but I'm going to go ahead and polish the second one up, and then we'll put them back on the bike. This is a Texas toll tag for North Texas Tollway Authority, and this is the front garnish that goes under the windshield on my Honda Goldwing. Now, a lot of people stick these to their windshield flaps or to their windshield itself. But I know that if you stick this to the underside of the windshield garnish, like this, that it works just fine. Or even up here. Probably be better up here because it's a little bit smoother surface, probably easier to adhere to that. I had this on my 2018 Goldwing already, but as many of you know, I had an accident in West Texas in April, and this part was replaced during the repair process, and they failed to transfer my toll tag, which I probably couldn't do anyway. It probably would have destroyed it if they tried to take it off. So I got a new toll tag, and I'm going to install it now to this kind of this secondary black garnish. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to clean it really good with some alcohol, and then this is kind of a self-adhesive thing. I'll just stick it on, and it does work. I've used it for years. So if you have a toll tag in your state that's a stick-on toll tag, this is a great place to mount it because it will read it through this plastic. Yeah, it's already pretty clean because it's a brand new part. It's only been on it maybe a month and a half. Well, let's see how it works. Okay, so there it is. And this is supposed to be facing forward, I think. At least that's the way it is on my car. So I'm just going to put it right there. Yeah, so it's got a few little bubbles, no big deal. But it does work. And that's how I install my toll tag on my Honda Goldwing. Okay, you've seen me replace this meter visor, and the last thing I'm going to do as part of this particular video is I'm going to put the windshield back on, but I'm not putting back on my F4 Customs. I happen to have a windshield here from Pinnacle that they sent me. I actually have two windshields they sent me. One of them looks absolutely huge. So I'm going to take one of these out of the box, and I'm going to put it on my bike, and we're going to test it out, and I'll let you know what I think of this Pinnacle windshield for the 2018 Honda Goldwing. Did you enjoy this video? If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Click that like button. It really does help out the channel. Thanks for joining me again today. Remember what I always say, ride often, but ride safe.